Some of you might recognize these two. They are Snow Miser and Heat Miser from the movie The Year Without a Santa Claus, and today I'm going to be drawing them in my style. So, admittedly, I've never actually watched The Year Without a Santa Claus. Maybe it's because I was too young? The movie did come out in 1974, probably aired for a long while after that, but I just don't remember it showing up a lot when I was younger. I would watch a lot of other specials on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, and something around my age that kind of made sense. The claymation probably would have scared me off as a kid anyway, because for some reason, I was terrified of it. I don't know why, but I really was. The way I actually found out about the Snow Miser and Heat Miser was, of course, like a lot of things that I find out about, was on TikTok. The sound was going around a few months ago, and it was really popular for a while, and I was like, who are the Snow Miser and Heat Miser, and where do they come from? Of course, a quick Google search helped do me right, and I found out basically everything about the movie, so now I don't actually have to watch it, but I really wanted to do some research on it before I drew these characters, and kind of depicted them the way that I would. The first thing I wanted to do before I got into drawing the characters is ask myself, what is a miser? According to Merriam-Webster, it's a mean, grasping person, or one who is extremely stingy with money. A perfect example of a miser would be Ebenezer Scrooge from The Christmas Carol. How mean he is, and how he keeps all the wealth to himself. That's a miser. Once I looked at Scrooge's design after doing that research, I looked at Snow Miser and I was like, wow, these two are really similar in design. Things that they had in common with the design were the hat, the scarf, and the cane, which I'm guessing is the most represented towards a miser. But then I thought to myself, why would the Snow Miser only have this design and not the Heat Miser? And the only logical thing that I could come up with was just that Snow Miser is in a colder environment, and the way to connect to the people and show that he is a Snow Miser is to put him in the same clothes that people would wear. So not only would it help push the idea that he is a miser, but that he is a miser for the colder parts of the world. When it came to drawing him, I looked at his design and thought that it was actually pretty perfect the way it was. I liked the idea of the coat, the scarf, and the hat, along with the cane, because I felt like it helped push that he was in a cold area, and it didn't really need much of a tune-up anywhere. I just kind of did it in my own style just to make it look like I did it. One thing that I did change though was his hairstyle. Originally it was made out of ice, and in the 1974 version it looked like a bowl cut, while in the 2008 version it looked more like a pompadour. I personally thought if I gave him longer hair it would kind of make sense with the design, strictly for the sole factor that during the winter people are more likely to grow their hair longer. And I don't know if it's necessarily to keep warm or just whatever, but people just usually grow their hair out during the winter, and then during the spring they get a haircut to symbolize kind of like a fresh new beginning. After looking up how the Snow Miser was in the movie, it seemed like he was a cool guy, no pun intended, at first, but then the more I read into it, he's just a mean guy, which makes perfect sense because he is a miser. It's just that the way he portrays it instead of his brother Heat Miser is much more charismatic, but in all reality he's just the same as his brother, which is a mean person. Realistically, even if you're this big person who puts a smile on their face and acts like a happy-ish kind of person, but you still talk a certain way and you still have underlying tones, you're still an ass. It just comes off differently, and people who are a little bit more naive won't realize it until they get the moment in their brain that's just like, wait a second, you're not a nice person, are you? So that is a very, crucial thing about the Snow Miser that I noticed, is he's very Hollywood to a degree, and he's pretty mean to his brother. Maybe to other people he's not that bad, and he'll kind of butter them up because of his personality, but realistically, no. He's still a meanie. As I read more about the Snow Miser, it sounded like he definitely was this Hollywood type of guy, because he said at some point that Santa is the best in the snow biz instead of showbiz. And then along with that, he would have claims like, oh, him and Santa and Santa's wife are friends, and that it makes sense that he would know them because of the whole snow thing. However, it seems like Santa is very aware of how mischievous the Snow Miser really is, and that he would probably freeze people just for fun, just because he can. And again, at the end of the day, still makes fun of his brother Heat Miser for, I'm guessing, just for the sole reason that his brother is a Heat Miser and he's a Snow Miser. So that probably takes into play here. But despite my research and seeing a lot of things online, apparently Snow Miser is still liked better than Heat Miser. And I wonder if it really is just because his personality carries a lot of him and makes himself look better that way compared to his brother. So that's a really big factor in just how far your personality could take you if you act a certain way. Or maybe I'm really missing something because I didn't watch the movie growing up like everybody else. So that could be a reason as to why I don't see Snow Miser as a good guy, but more so just the guy who's more willing to work with you. So now we can move on to the Heat Miser. The Heat Miser and Snow Miser are definitely brothers, and their mom is actually Mother Nature. I don't know who their dad is, so that's a question for the stars, though. So, when I was designing Heat Miser, I made sure to kind of make it look like the Snow Miser, because they are brothers after all. When it came to his skin tone, I made sure it was warmer, though, because it just made sense, because he is the Heat Miser, while the Snow Miser had a more cool tone skin, because he is the Snow Miser. So that only made sense. In the actual movie, the Heat Miser's skin was on the orangish, reddish side, and the Snow Miser was kind of like on the icy blue side. So that was for more character personification, but because I'm doing it, and I usually just do normal human skin, I kind of put it towards what I would do more than in the movie. I had a lot of trouble actually designing Heat Miser, and the reason being is because I didn't think his first design actually made too much sense. The main thing that really didn't make sense to me was, well, his sweater. He's already a Heat Miser, right? He must be extremely warm all the time. So either one of two things. Either he's wearing the sweater because he wants to be even warmer, or it just doesn't make sense because Snow Miser is wearing clothes that would make him warmer and not cooler. If that logic was to be applied, then Snow Miser would be in shorts and a tank top instead. So I just thought that it would make more sense that I put Heat Miser in something a little bit more cooling, and I changed his bottoms, which looked like almost like wool leggings, which would be super hot and uncomfortable, to like some kind of an orange pants, which just makes a little bit more sense to me. I also decided to keep the little flares, or like the triangle pointy things on the ends of his clothing, just so I could keep it like canon with the design. I did give him gloves though, just because I felt like it kind of added an air of something else to him and it wasn't just bare arms. His hair originally are like these long flames, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to draw that because it would look weird if I did it. So I kind of manipulated the hair to kind of not only resemble Snow Miser's, but still keep the idea that it is on like the fiery side slash look like flames, which I will also push through with the coloring of his hair. Heat Miser kind of gets a bad rep because he's hot-headed, no pun intended again, and he's kind of outwardly mean in comparison to Snow Miser, which is why a lot of people seem to dislike him. But I almost kind of respect that he is just outwardly mean and he doesn't conceal it through a different kind of personality. Instead, he's kind of upfront with how he feels. And I'm guessing because of the fact that not only is he physically his brother's opposite, but emotionally too. I think that that's kind of a cool design that they added in there. With that one brother who's on the warmer side is kind of more angry, and then the other brother who's on the cooler side is a little bit more chill. But regardless, at the end of the day, both are still misers, which ultimately means they're pretty mean. Nonetheless, they were both still very fun to draw, and on top of that, I don't know which one I like better. It might be Snow Miser, but Heat Miser's kind of grown on me, I'm not gonna lie. What do you think? So thanks for watching, and remember I love you, bye!